Darrell. Darrell Zimmerman. Darrell Yellow. That's my stage name. The Sax Maniac. And I live here in this hood, just a couple blocks up the street, for about the last 5 years. And
Where were you before that?
I was around Commercial Drive, and then before that I lived in Mexico for a few years. So I really expanded my whole musical kind of reality.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Vernon. I was born here in Vancouver, one of the few people that I know live here that actually was born here. And I grew up in the Okanagan, Vernon. Do you know the Okanagan at all? Yeah. There's
And
wine country and everything.
and you grew up with music?
Yeah.
Learning instruments?
I did. I learned the sax when I was 9 years old. That's over 50 years ago.
Right. Yeah, it was really nice to hear.
Yeah, thanks.
To see that you had some talent there.
Yeah, thanks. So, they say it's 90% work and 10% talent, right? It's like, they say it's like 10,000 hours to become like an accomplished musician. So I figured I spread that out over 50 years, so like average 200 a year. I didn't want to overdo it. But then just as I get older, I just get more into it and more serious about my music. And it's just nice to be out, especially when the weather's nice, to be out and hang out with the people in my neighborhood and just play, and I get paid to practice basically, right? So.
Right, so it's your neighborhood and you know a lot of people that kind of pass by?
Yep, all the locals.
Oh, very nice.
It's cool. Yeah, and the people, like when the COVID started, people were like deprived of hearing live music, and I was it. So they came down, they would give me envelopes full of hundreds of dollars,
Really?
$300 or $400. Yeah. Yeah, some lady wrote me a letter, said, "Wow, I'm cooped up in my, home office, because of COVID, all the time." She said, "But when you're out here playing, it just makes me feel so much better," and right, and like so that was good feedback, right?
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And how great that you have like a pastime and enjoyment that you can step outside and
I was 9 years old,
you love.
and I never even had known about a saxophone. I grew up in Vernon. It's a bit of the cultural backwater. Well, the cultural mecca. One of my college professors would kind of say the cultural mecca of Kimberley, BC, or something.
Right.
That's where a lot of the good culture comes from. People who are living a more, like, I find my abilities improve just because of age. I don't practice scales. I don't work stuff out. I just let it flow. A lot of the time my mind just kind of wandering, and my fingers are just kind of automatically doing what they're supposed to do, which is, now that I had an injury in the last month, I couldn't even play. I play a tenor, which is like 1.5 times the size.
Oh, you play that as well?
Yeah. I have a trumpet. I'm practicing that lately because I can just play with one hand.
Did you play in bands?
Yeah, that's I like in school bands, and like in college and stuff. And then I didn't for like in my 20s, 30s. I was more into trying to get into business to make a lot of money, and then I could retire and have a studio and then play music all day. And then I realized, well, I don't really need to have that. I could just play music anyways.
So did you go the business route for a while?
Yeah, I did. I lived in Chicago. I was trading the markets there. Now I'm watching all these, all the crypto stuff, and oh wow, I was born way too early. It's like if I'd been a couple decades later, I could have been way over my head. Right. We thought we were, big shooters trading options and maybe futures contracts, over tens of thousands of dollars, not billions. Like what the hell is that all about? Wow.
Wow. So you had an interesting life in the investing world.
Yes. And now with crypto, like who knows what's all going on, cyberspace kind of thing.
And stuff that's happening in the banks right now.
Yeah, right. I mean, like you have an interest rate skew that you can just see. Well, anybody who's had any experience in banking is going to know if the short-term rates are going up, then your long-term bonds are you're sitting on 1-2% or whatever. You better start like hedging them or do leveraging something. And then these guys are just off taking vacations and.
Well, it sounds like you know a lot about a lot too.
Yeah,
and, you could give some good financial advice.
Yeah, well, my financial advice: stay away from that. Like here I am. It's so satisfying. Just stay away from the markets, right? Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld had a good thing. He says, these money managers say, well, let your money work for you. I say, I'm fine to work. My money can just sit and relax, just take care of itself, and I'll go out and do the work.
then you came back to Vancouver? Like, what other things did you do after the trading work?
Well, I was a ski bum at Whistler for a while, but I always had my music, right? So, you know, I would, then I just, like you said, did I play in bands? I would just kind of like join in with some bands sometimes, and I had a couple of projects that I was working on. I've done a few recordings in that, but I just like to play out live and meeting people, like just like yourself.
Right.
Are you like a hobby? Do you have a blog or any kind of?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Voices of the Downtown East Side.
Oh, that's good.
And,
yeah, I'm all about that.
So I really like that. It's a real pleasure to do. And are you willing for this to?
Oh, of course. Yeah, the more publicity, the better.
Appreciate anyone who wants to, you know, come along and have a conversation.
Like some of these people are just like shut-ins. You know, with the mental health things. I mean, I have my own diagnosis, whatever, right? But the amazing some of the paintings they do and the artwork. Like even my son, like he talks about being an architect. He just freehand draws the exact scene of a SpongeBob with a pen. It doesn't correct it or just it's just amazing how. And
lots of nice artists down here. I've met some and got some of their work and done some interviews.
Yeah, do you know Ken Foster?
I've heard it. I don't know Ken.
Yeah, he's amazing. Are you familiar with free improvised music? Like
to some degree, yeah.
Okay, so at the jazz festival they do that.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've been to one.
Yeah, they're really kind of esoteric and trippy. Like it's like a kind of an acquired taste. And in Mexico, I have a group of guys that I just kind of fell into because I had a connection from here, a Chilean friend who had moved to Mexico City, and my ex-wife is from there, and she got deported, and so I went with her, and our son was born there.
Just like been in a lot of places, a lot of experiences.
Yeah, I have, and it's like, you know, I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in Mexico City, and downtown east side of Vancouver, and of all those three places, I've been a victim of more crime in downtown east side than in Chicago or Mexico City. So that's kind of ironic when you think about it. Like, just never.
Do you mind if I ask you? And this can be edited out, and you can say I don't want to answer that or whatever.
Yeah.
Did drug factor at all into your life in the downtown east side?
Hey, no. I mean, I have kind of dabbled. I was more a problem with alcohol. I've been like sober for about 8 years now. Just kind of a quick cold turkey. Back in my 30s, I would always go to see, like, challenge myself. Could I go for a month without drinking? And I was able to do that. And so I thought, okay, well then I know that I can control it. Like I can stop when I have to or want to. Then my son was born in 2006. By the time he was 8 years old, we'd moved back here. It took 3 years to get the paperwork. And by that time, my son was fluently speaking Spanish. I was like, now we have him in French immersion. He's like trilingual. He just lives a few blocks over with his mom.
Here. Oh, nice.
So
great.
It was hard, and that's like her and her daughter were deported back to Mexico, pregnant with my son, and then took 3 years to get the paperwork. And Stephen Harper wanted to clamp down on Mexicans trying to get refugee status and all that. And then. So once we finally got the paperwork together, he was 3 years old, and we got him into daycare, and he started speaking English. Now he's in French immersion in high school. He's in grade 11 now. He's 17. He's like taller than I am. It's a nice pup that you got there. It'd be a great day. That'd be a good.
Nice dog over there. Let's take a look. Oh wow. That is very nice big dog. Wow.
So that was an experience, but it was hard for our marriage with myself and my wife raising a toddler, and we were older. We were in our 40s at that time, and it was my first kid, and she had a teenage daughter also. So like, it was all kind of a blended family. It's been quite an interesting experience, raising a kid.
You have a nice relationship with your son?
Yeah, really good. Not with his mom so much, but those things happen. She always, it was great living in Mexico City for me as an adult, but it wasn't the place to raise a kid. I mean, there's just violence. It's not in the city so much. The cops and the government make sure that it's not around where the major centers are, but, like every day you go and see, they have like all the 20 different newspapers all up there, and they got photos of decapitated heads and stuff, right, from the cartels. every day, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so
And there's
you're-
no stopping that, is there?
no. I mean, they can
mean,
legalize all the drugs. You know, that would be the best thing to do, right? But
Right.
that's not going to happen anytime soon. So yeah, so I met a few expats in Mexico, really interesting guys from Holland who, you know, a lot of us have Mexican wives, and then we end up moving to Mexico because why wouldn't you do that, right? So that's kind of my exit strategy. My retirement plan is to move to Mexico.
Okay.
I'm in my 60s now. It's time to start planning my retirement.
Yeah, Mexico does sound great.
Cool.
I agree.
I lived there for like 3.5 years, and it's like it was the best ever. You know, I lived in Chicago like for about 8 years, and I always had my sax, and I would go there. It's good jazz clubs, but Vancouver doesn't really have anything like that. There's like, or they have open mic or jam night, and everyone wants to go up and play, and then it's just turns into a real mess. And like I like to just play by myself, and then I'm like, oh, who you playing with lately? Oh, Miles Davis, you know, just
Wow,
punch him up
really
on,
nice.
right? I'm like, I always joke around if they had Bluetooth and MySpace or, you know, YouTube, all of that technologies back in the day, no one would have ever heard of Kenny G, right? You know, it's like,
Yeah. So weather's getting a lot better now, so I'll be able to find you around.
yep.
Here,
I have my
Gastown, you say?
stations, like on the weekend nights, I'm going to go to Gastown. It's really good atmosphere in Gastown. Like people are, like between 8 and 9 o'clock, they're transitioning from going from dinner to going to the bars or clubs or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they hear live music. And like I said, during the lockdowns, nobody was experiencing live music, so I was it for the whole neighborhood, right? And then,
right.
yeah, it was really good. Like it's you know, great just to have like an unlimited source of, you know, kind of backing music, right? It's like,
Yeah.
people say, oh, do you know this song or something? Well, not really, but I'll punch it up, and
Pretty versatile.
yeah, and once I can feel the note, my fingers just automatically do the right combinations. It's just, I don't even have to like.
Very naturally musical.
Yeah, it's all in there, is in the operating system, I guess, right? In the hard drive, so it's always available.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I think you're really fortunate to have that. I would love to have that. I don't think I do. But yeah, it was a pleasure coming across you
Yeah.
and listening for a while.
All right,
Okay,
Elf.
there's some really nice talent.
I'll give you my contact on
Yeah, for sure.
Darrell Zimmerman on Facebook.
Thank
Yeah,
you
Elf.
very much
Oh, thanks.
for this.
Thanks, Vancouver.